You're listening to the Ordinary Joe's podcast with Joe D and Eric B. Ordinary Joe's podcast.
All right, we are back doing our own podcast. We jumped on a couple podcasts the other day, or last week, 2 weeks ago to be exact. We had some things that we had to get done, so the Ordinary Joe's wasn't around for the past 2 weeks, but we are back, and we're going to come back with a little conspiracy theory that we're doing. We're going to do conspiracy theories either the United States or outside the United States. I have a couple, Joe has a couple, and we're going to get along and start getting this conspiracy theory rolling. I am Eric B.
And I'm Joe D. And we are the
Ordinary Joes.
Man, one week break, it feels like I haven't been sitting in this chair forever.
Dude, when I was getting this whole setup together, I was like, wait a minute, does this go here? Does this go there? It's like, yeah, you're right, dude. It's like I haven't even looked at my computer. The only time I got on this computer was to update it because the Mac came out with a new update software. So It's the only reason why I got on. But yeah, you're right, dude. I haven't been on here for a while.
Yeah, it's like the third friend, you do it every week. Even with the other guys, like Woken Up Woke, we didn't do anything last week either. So
yeah,
we pre-recorded, but normally we record on the weekends, and it's just like, man, this is weird. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself.
I did a Prince one. I did my Purple Rain one.
Really good one, by the way.
And put tears in my eyes just because thinking of the tragic things Prince went through. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about conspiracy theories. Joe has a couple. I have a couple. So Joe, go ahead and kick us off, and let's start with your first one.
Okay. I'm gonna start with a classic one, man, and that's the moon landing.
Okay.
The U.S. landing on the moon,
or supposedly
landing on the moon, right? I mean, obviously, I wasn't around for it, so I don't know the details. But a lot of people, I guess, even like right after the moon landing, right away there was a lot of conspiracy theories. People saying it was fake. Some of the things people talk about are the pictures, right? That's kind of the only evidence, or the main evidence they go off of, and a lot of what they do is just nitpicking on the pictures, right? The lighting.
Lighting, yeah.
People say like the only light out there was from the sun, and you see pictures where it looks like there's light emanating from the bottom. So people are like, there was a studio
light,
cameras. They're like, you can't see the stars in the background. But for me, now, this is not one I necessarily believe in, but I find it interesting because for me, like growing up in New York, when it snows, right, and especially when you're driving, people can vouch for me. When the snow is on the ground, all that white snow actually reflects the sunlight, and it can be blinding when you're driving. And the surface of the moon is similar. It's very white, light gray, and has that same effect. So I could easily see that being, reflecting the light off of the sun. Another thing and also the stars, right? When they took the picture, they were exposed, and you're a photographer, they had exposed it in a way, they did the exposure in a way, so that you can see the astronauts clearly as opposed to the background.
The lights,
right. And it's the same as if me or you were to take a selfie at nighttime. It'll see us clear, but you won't see the stars in the background. So I'm like, well, that's debunked for me. And then the last main thing people talk about is the flag, right? There's no wind up there. How's the flag waving? Well, it turns out NASA knew this. They expected this, and they said, we can't just throw a regular flag up there just looking all limp. That's not going to do. So they actually created a flag made to look like it's blowing in the wind. So, I mean, if you're trusting of the government and believe everything they say, it all makes sense. But that's not what we believe, right? There's more to it. It has to be.
That's on my list. That's funny you mentioned it's on my list. And whether it was a hoax or not, I mean, my whole thing is it was cheaper for them to create this hoax than it was to really fly these three guys out there, right? But why would they go through all that? Why would they go through all that just to show we were going through a space race? We're going through it was the Russians versus the United States. Who was going to get to the moon first? And my thing is, we're now in 2021, right? This happened in 1969. and no one's made an attempt to go back up there.
Yeah.
We have the technology, we have everything we need. They're more worried about trying to get a rover on the Mars than they are trying to go back to the moon. So my thing is something happened up there, or something happened that they're not trying to go back. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was, but yeah, there's to me it's a little fishy. It's a little fishy to me on like what happened.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things people say. It was a whole space race in the Cold War, and
Yeah,
even if it was just on paper, we couldn't let the Soviet Union beat us there. I mean, that's possible, but I don't know necessarily like how much did we gain from getting to the moon first? I mean, it's not like there's a prize. Where everybody was still in the same situation as they were after. So
I mean,
I don't know,
we're
but yeah,
still
you might be right.
we're still in the same situation. I mean, it's like again, Russia went there after we did. Now, did Russia fake the whole thing also? Did their cosmonaut fake the whole thing? I mean, the pictures you're talking about, yeah, backlight just didn't look right. The reflection off Neil Armstrong's face shield when you see the other astronaut taking his picture, that could have been easily digitally enhanced, But again, in 1969, what technology did they have that they could try to get the stars? Nowadays with self photographers and these selfie experts, they got to get the perfect picture, right? So
right.
Yeah, you want to get a picture like behind Earth, or at least Earth behind you.
Yeah.
And like, hey, look, here's where we are. I mean, it's just to me, there's just so much not negative facts, but there's so much things that we got to think about whether they really did land there or not. I mean, I want to believe they landed there.
Yeah, me too. I think is, do you think like, I feel like whenever there's always an answer for everything, that something's fishy. Like
Exactly.
when it comes to all the conspiracy theories, especially for the moon landing, the government like literally has an answer for every little detail someone brings up. Like for instance, they said that they didn't have a lot of fuel, or so they were cramped for time. So like that was why they took the pictures they did. They weren't there to take pictures of the stars. They had a job to do and things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I guess, but like you said, this is the first time a human being has been on another planet or whatever, outside of Earth. Yeah, you would think at least get a cool shot of how Earth looks from the moon. I mean, that should have been part of the list of things to do. But
and did they even come back with like soil or rocks? I mean, I that's something I should. They did. Okay.
They did. Yeah. I went to and I don't remember which one it was in, but I went to the Kennedy Space Center and the Johnson Space Center, Texas. And maybe one or both have actual samples of the moon rocks that they brought back, which is pretty cool. And even their
uniforms,
suits and stuff.
Suits, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so it's really cool. If you ever get a chance to go to either one of those,
on my list, it's on my bucket list. I mean, definitely. I mean, it's part of American history. It's like the Apollo 7. All that, the moon landing, all that is part of American history. So I definitely want to hit up that place once everything is good. But again, it's just, I wonder if they did land on the moon, and if they did hoax it, why? What was your point in faking the landing? Was it to try to say that we did it first?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things that if you ask Neil Armstrong, he's going to tell you, dude, we landed on the moon. We did. We were there.
Or what if somebody forgot to like put film in the camera and then like, damn it. So they had to just fake it when they got back.
Exactly. There's a guy by the name of Bill Cozing. He wrote a book in the 70s, and it's called We Never Went to the Moon. And he actually, in this book, I actually just glimpsed at it because I didn't want to pay for it, but I just glimpsed on some of the headlines. He actually wrote reasons why they didn't go to the moon. And one of them was costly. And the other ones were, they didn't know how many of the astronauts was going to actually come back. It's like they brought up 3. Are we going to get back 3? Yeah. So there was a lot of that stuff. Again, he wrote a book. It's, conspiracy theory, whether it really happened or not. But it's, if you guys want to get a book and you don't believe in it, go ahead and get that book.
But the cost makes sense too, because I mean, that was like the tail end of Vietnam, and people were already, done with the government and wasting money on wars and people dying, things like that. So, really paying for us to go up into the space and not necessarily getting anything but bragging rights. Yeah, I could see them.
Yeah.
Well, let's just act like we went up there.
Let's just, it's kind of like, Disney, right? Like, let's put out the best movie ever and let's let other people try to, put out movies better than us. And at this moment, no one can. So that's kind of like what the United States did back in the 60s. Like, let's get on the moon, let's put our boots to the ground, and let's see what happens. So it's still a conspiracy theory. You're going to have people say, no, we did go to the moon. And then you're going to have some, especially the millennials will be like, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
No, you didn't, because that was the worst selfie ever, Mr. Armstrong.
He didn't even have a ring light.
No ring light. Come on. Everybody knows the sun rises from the east and sets in the west. Which direction were you standing? Angles. You were standing northeast. Man, that's a good one, man. Again, that was on my list. Definitely something for us to think about. And you're right. I wasn't there in 69. I was born a couple years later, so I don't know what happened. I asked my dad. My dad's like, yeah, we landed on the moon.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
cool.
There's really no way to debunk it. Like, not yet, anyway.
No way. There's no way. I mean, and you know what? Especially military, they're gonna die telling us what we want to hear. They're gonna die telling us this is what happened. There's no way this. They're gonna die with the truth. Which brings me to my next one, to conspiracy theory, which ties into what you're talking about, is UFOs. These are the biggest conspiracy theories out there. It's like you see people with footage, and military people like that with footage saying that they captured this, they saw this, but the military is so quick to, nope, it was a weather balloon. Nope, you saw, a military aircraft that were testing out. So my whole point is, in Men in Black, Tommy Lee Jones said the perfect line, and he said, the less the people know, the less they'll worry. So is that what they're doing to us? Are they hiding the secrets from us because we don't want to worry? Are they not telling us? I mean, the whole Roswell thing, even from this day when we did our UFO podcast, even from this day, people are still saying there is UFOs, there's such things as aliens out there. Mm-hmm. So why? What's the purpose of the military doing this? Why are they hiding this from us?
Yeah, I always feel like they feel, the government feels like it knows what's best for us, right?
Yeah.
We're a bunch of babies and we can't handle the truth. But like how you were saying with UFO sightings, I mean, it's maybe if it was just here in the States or something like that, we can maybe explain it away. But it's been all over the world. You've seen sightings where like multiple people, hundreds of people at the same time, either see it, reported, record it, and there's really no explanation for it, and you see it countless times all over the world. So that, for me, for sure, I feel like there are, if they're not here, humans have in their possession some sort of alien technology.
Yeah.
And when we got it, where we got it, how we got it, I don't know. But I feel like, I think that's probably one of the places where countries actually agree on stuff as far as governments to keep things under wraps.
Yeah.
The whole Illuminati, New World Order, all that stuff. I mean, I don't go too crazy with that, but I do feel like there's powerful people out there with information that share it, and they keep it away from us, the regular people.
What's funny was Illuminati was actually one on my list, but I had to take I took it down just because I don't want somebody knocking on my door tomorrow morning. And it's like, smart. Excuse me, you have to take. I was like, yeah. So I was like, you Illuminati people, I'm not bringing you up. You guys can deal with Tupac over that one.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to deal with that. But yeah, man, I mean, it's like back in Roswell, a lot of it was hearsay, this and that. This is what I saw. This is how I saw this. But now we have people who have cell phones. We have people who has nice cameras who are capturing footage, whether it's, doctored and fake, or whether they're not, but they're still capturing footage that the military is still trying to tell us, you're seeing a weather balloon. Nope, you're seeing one of our new F-99 planes that we're testing out. But it's just, again, why? Why are you not telling us the secret or the truth? Why are you not letting us know that there is other beings out there, that they're coming here and checking us out? What's it going to do to us? I mean, are we going to freak out?
Yeah.
Well, I was more freaked out with the coronavirus than I would be with these aliens coming.
I think honestly, only the main reason I could think would be religion, because if there are aliens, that changes the game for so many different
Yeah.
religions over the world, and it would turn people's lives upside down. And I'm guessing they're afraid of a worldwide kind of riot or something. But I feel like they're not giving us enough credit.
Yeah.
I think people will find a way to adjust, find a way to explain things, find a way to explain aliens and how their God still exists. I mean, people believe in
Yeah.
their God, they believe in their God. So I don't think I don't know. I don't think they need to worry. There's going to be issues for sure. There are going to
Yeah. Yeah.
be people that go crazy. They're going to, it's the end of the world. But if they're here, they're here, and at some point you're going to have to let us know. And I don't think there's any way of easing people into the fact that we're not the only ones here.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think, and I told this to you in our UFO podcast, that I think that there's aliens among us, and I'm not talking about crossing the border aliens. I'm talking about real UFO out of from a different planet aliens, and the government knows about them. Whether it's your like Men in Black did it perfectly, like whether it's your LeBron James or you have these people who are like, wow, why are you so talented and gifted in whatever you're doing? Whether you're a doctor, you're a chemist, whatever you're doing, do you have alien DNA on you? Or, it's like, do you? It's like, that makes me wonder. It makes me wonder. It's like LeBron James, probably everyone's going to say, Tom Brady, everyone's going to say, dude, are you an alien? It's like, no, dude, he grew up down the street from me in San Mateo.
Definitely an alien. I think he just he extended his contract for like another year or two. Like
4 years.
4 years. Look at that.
4 years.
Yeah.
4 years.
That's not an alien. I don't know what it is.
He's gonna have more white hair than I am before he retires. 4 years.
Oh, that's
but
crazy.
yeah, but it just makes me wonder, like, are they really here among us now? And the government is trying to so hard to keep the secret that they don't want to tell us that, hey, this is what's really going on. I mean, I just wonder about that,
Yeah. You make a good point too with like the cameras and stuff, because I don't know if you've seen the new Samsung 20, like the zoom feature on that is insane. And it's just like the further we go with technology and cameras and stuff, the harder it's going to get for them to deny that things are out there. Because you look at the footage maybe from the 70s or 80s where it's like grainy and it's like, oh, it was a blimp, or you can't, it's too pixelated, you can't make it out. Nowadays you can see things in detail. I'm like, no, I see a little green guy in the window. That's that's a UFO.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see in the next few years what footage people, capture.
But but going back to what you're saying, okay, so let's say you're walking and you capture a footage and you post it on, whatever social media you post it on, right? How quick is the government to come to you and say, take it down, take this down? Or
if it's legit, I think pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing that scares me, is like, how many footage out there are we not seeing because the government is stopping us from putting it? It's like, how you'll watch something on like Facebook or YouTube, and someone's will say, watch it before they take it down, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like, how quick would the government say, like, oh shit, he found something that we've been trying to hide, get to him, take it down.
I think they're gonna hop on it really fast, because actually this is kind of like a perfect segue into my next topic. And I don't know if you know who Bob Lazar is. But
heard of him.
Bob Lazar is the guy who pretty much was like the whistleblower of Area 51.
Yes, that's where I heard him.
He claimed that he had worked there. This was back in the late 70s, 80s. But I think it was the late 80s when he finally came out with his story. And according to him, he was hired to work in this building called S4 in Area 51. And he was working on alien technology. He said that the government has at least 2 or 3 alien spaceships that he saw, and he said they're the typical disc shape that people see. And he drew a like really like detailed diagram of how it works and things like that. But he also explained that information was compartmentalized. So most times he only knew about what he was working on. And one of the first things he worked on was an antimatter device, which creates gravity. And he's
Nice.
like, there's nothing on Earth. There's no way for you to create gravity. Like, this is alien technology. And so he explains all these things in detail, and it's obvious like he's a smart guy. He's not making like the science stuff. He knows, right? And
Yes.
really, the only thing that they have to like discredit him is that they can't prove his schooling, which, I mean, that can easily be covered up.
Yeah.
This just he didn't go to school here, right? And then before he started working at Area 51, he worked for this company called LabCorp. He was a scientist there. They contacted LabCorp. They said, we've never heard of the guy. We don't know, whatever. So they start doing their research, and they find newspaper clippings of Bob Lazar working at LabCorp, and it was a whole story on the things he was working on. They looked up a phone book for LabCorp from that time when he said, and sure enough, his name was there. He was in there, so that stuff he was telling the truth about.
Wow.
This building S4 in Area 51. So a friend of mine told me in Area 51, because he actually had a friend in the military who worked there. It's constantly changing. They actually move the buildings around. So it's never the same for X amount of time because of so many people being nosy and trying to figure out what's there. One of the only buildings that are still there is S4. There was no way for him to know that at that time. Nobody knew anything about Area 51, and he knew it. And he spoke about this scanner that he would have to use to get into S4. And he said it was like this thing where you put your hand in and it lights up and it measures like the bone density and length or something. Like whatever it measures, it's distinct to each individual. So that's how it could tell it was you.
Jeez.
And he had spoke about this years ago. So fast forward to recent, like a few years ago, the government over time, the FBI, whatever, they start releasing information that was classified at one point, then it becomes declassified. Well, they had declassified some stuff, and within those files was this hand scanner required to get into buildings, and it was exactly what he had described. And the producer of this was from a documentary that I had watched. The producer shows him the pictures, and he's like, you see his reaction. It's so genuine. He's just like, oh my God, I never thought I would see this again.
Wow.
Ever in my life. Like, this is it. This is exactly what I said. And I'm like, man, this is really, really, really interesting. Yeah. And what made me think of it when you asked me about, black suits coming to your house, they return to him like present day. They go to his house and they're having a conversation outside. And the producer says, well, let's put our phones over here. Like they're kind of in the woods behind his house, and they walk off and they put their phones away, and they come back and they're talking, and he's interviewing him about something. The next day, his house was raided, and they specifically referenced that conversation that they had, where they went and hid their phone. I was like, that's freaking nuts. Like, this guy has been harassed by the government since the late 80s. So, yeah, he says that, he's seen spaceships, and he said they don't fly the way we normally see. How it's kind of like we see them going like this. He said they actually fly this way with a propulsion system that bends space in front of the spaceship, which almost kind of allows the spaceship to fall forward instead of propulsion pushing it. It's really, really interesting.
Reminds me of Boba Fett's ship. If you ever watch Star Wars, the way his ship flies. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know, man. I've always believed Area 51, had something going on there. But after seeing, reading and seeing about Bob Lazar, I was like, I don't know. I definitely think the government's got something up their sleeve that they're not telling.
Yeah. I mean, even someone who's been there, like him, Bob Lazar, who's been in the facility, knows what's there, to come out with the truth and talk about this stuff. I mean, like he's putting his life at risk for doing that, and props to him for getting the truth out there. Especially me and you, we want to believe stuff like this exists. I mean, like you just mentioned, the ship, the proportion of the ship, how it goes, makes me wonder now, how did someone like George Lucas come up with these kind of spaceships without maybe somebody whispering in his ear, hey, dude, it doesn't fly like this. turn it this way, make it go this way.
Yeah.
So now, stuff like that. Now that's kind of making sense. Maybe this guy Bob Lazar whispered in George Lucas's ear. It's like, hey, trust me, do it this way.
Yeah. Or like you said, maybe he's got alien DNA and it's embedded in his brain somewhere. He doesn't know.
If you're an alien and you come out with an alien movie like George Lucas did, come on.
That's cheating.
Well, it makes sense. It makes sense. I remember this from Alpha,
all his awards.
Alpha 10, and we're going to make this lizard man look like a lizard.
But it really is, man. It's interesting to think about, like, that there really could actually be something out there like that.
Bob Lazar. I'm going to go write his name down.
Yeah, it's on Netflix, by the way. I can't think of the name of the.
That's okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I do Bob Lazar, it's going to pop up.
Yeah, if you search for Bob Lazar, even on Netflix, it'll pop up.
For some reason, my spell check on my computer came up with Bernie Kosar.
See, it's the government. It's not letting you look up Bob Lazar.
You
did it right.
We're gonna let you find Bernie Kosar instead.
Yeah. You typed it in right. They autocorrected it for you.
I was like, wait a minute. I didn't put Bernie. I put Bob. What the hell? Bernie Kosar. What the hell are you talking about?
I swear, dude.
Man,
if I get somebody knocking on my door after this podcast.
Yeah, if you don't see us next week, yeah.
You know what happened.
Look, government, you can do whatever you want. Just don't go up my ass. That's all I'm asking.
Exactly.
Do whatever you want. Just stay away from the groin area. That's all it is.
Yeah. What can you learn from down there? Just leave it alone.
Yeah. Like, I'll tell you right now, man, I eat and I shit. So that's all it is. But man, this is cool stuff. And it's like, there is believers out there. There's people out there who wants to believe that there's aliens and UFOs, and I'm one of them, and you're one of them. And one day we are going to go out to Area 51 and stay at one of the motels and go out in the middle of the night and do our live podcast there and see what happens to us.
Go to the Alien, I think.
The Alien, I saw that. The Alien. It's probably gonna be sold out by the time we get there. We're gonna have to stay at the Alien 2 or whatever the next one down the street is. Oh man, I'm gonna change it up a little bit, man. I'm big when it comes to this theory, and I brought it up to you. I called you last week, and I talked about the whole Meghan Markle situation that's going on in here in the United States and here in over there in London, and how Meghan Markle came out and attacked the royal family out there. And if you guys haven't heard, Meghan Markle sat down with Oprah and just pretty much spilled the beans on how the family is out there and how they were racist and they were being mean to her. And that's the reason why they left. And I called Joe and I said, hey, this is going to be a good one because I have a feeling Meghan Markle is not going to be here in the next 5 to 10 years because I have a feeling the royal family is going to find a way to get rid of her. Coming to my next theory is the whole Princess Diana death. Everybody knows Princess Diana. When she left Prince Charles, she started dating around and she ended up dating Dodi Fayed, who rich Arab, his dad was, who's the dad? I got it right here. His dad was a Mohammed Al Fayed, rich billionaire, oil tycoon. I mean, they had money up the ass, right? That's how rich they were. So there's a couple theories. When she died in that tunnel of August 31st, 1997, a lot of people were saying it was a car accident. It was a car accident. A drunk driver supposedly hit her and hit the car and killed him. But a lot of theorists are saying that was a planned death. Like they purposely did that. The royal family found a way to put her out and kill her because two things. And when I was doing this research, I was like, whoa, I got deep into it. I just found out Prince Charles wanted to marry this other lady that he was dating. I forget what her name is, irrelevant of the story. But in the contract of the royal family, you cannot marry unless the previous wife you had was either dead or no longer living, which is two of the same things, right?
Really?
So he couldn't marry this new lady because Princess Diana was still alive.
Even if they're divorced.
Even if they're divorced. It's something in the royal family contract that you cannot marry till, and I guess that's just for monarchy reasons, for reasons like that, right? So So I think that's the reason why. And then I dug in a little bit more. And then Dodi Fayad's dad, Al Fayad, said Princess Diana was pregnant with
Oh
Dodi
wow.
Fayed's son or baby. I don't know if it was a boy or girl. And the monarchy, when I say the monarchy, I'm talking about the queen, the king, all them in England. They didn't want to see a Muslim prince born because regardless of what happened, that baby still would have been a prince because she's still Princess Diana. Now, for the thousands of years, the king and queen has been either Catholic or Christian, whatever the religion is. Now you're going to bring in a Muslim who's going to be a prince.
Yeah, and he's also of color or half
color. Of color, yeah. And they didn't want to see that. They were like, no way. As soon as they found out she was pregnant, they found a way to get rid of her and then making it look like a car accident. And the funny thing was, there's footage. If you look online, you'll see footage of them racing through the streets of London or England, wherever they were. But the one place they didn't have footage was that tunnel.
Right.
So a lot of people saying the drunk driver ran into their car. Drunk driver died. Everybody in the car that Princess Diana was in died also.
Yeah.
Makes me wonder.
I always found that fishy. I mean, I was about, I think, like 17 when it happened, and even that young, I was like, that's weird, because I remember them saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they were like running from paparazzi or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's Princess Diana. She's been dealing with paparazzi since day one.
Yeah.
They can't breathe. They can't take a shit. They can't go anywhere without cameras and people around them. So I don't see them really trying to run away from paparazzi in the street. Even at that point when there was, drama with her and him and her new husband, I don't see, like, that to me was always like, that sounds weird.
Well, the whole story behind that was there was a rumor going around that she was dating Dodi Fayed, right? There was the rumor. They were always seen together. They were always like, they were with each other like 24/7. But I think this one particular day of August 31st, they were seen coming out of a hotel, one of the big hotels. And of course, the paparazzi was there. Hey, you guys went in last night and you're coming out this morning. What did you guys do? And of course, if you're the driver of the prince of whatever he is, like the billionaire, and then the princess of Wales, when he says get away from them, you're gonna do whatever you can to get away from the paparazzi. And I've never heard of paparazzis chasing, when it was pretty much a high-speed chase.
Yeah, exactly. The paparazzi, I work, again, I say it a lot, I worked in FedEx. I worked in what they call Little Hollywood, which was like the TMZ of the East Coast of New York. And I would see paparazzi plenty of times. I saw Justin Timberlake get harassed by them, and they hide out. They're like little rats. And as soon as they see them, they pounce and they take pictures. But as soon as that person gets in the car and they take off, that's it. They go back to their respective cars and they're out. They're not going to waste time. Who wants to see a picture of somebody in a car? You're not going to get a good shot like that. So that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, so that whole thing to me, when she got in the car, they got in the car and they drove away, and the paparazzis made it a high-speed chase to try to find out, either where they were going or what they were doing or what they were hiding. Makes me wonder, like, were you really the paparazzis, or were you this royal family guards trying to find a way to, put her out? I mean, unfortunately, she did die. They all died, but was it planned? Was it more a murder than it was an accident? And this is one of those theories that, conspiracy theories that people are wondering, like, what really happened. If you dive into this, like the way I dove into it, I was just like, oh shit, I never knew she was pregnant.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I never knew she was pregnant.
Yeah, and it really makes sense because, like you said, now with watching this story with Meghan Markle and things that she's going through, and this is, let's face it, I mean, this family, this is a monarch. This is generations and generations of history that's noted, written down for people to see, and they haven't been the nicest of people throughout history, and so it's when you're talking about the monarch and you're talking about positions in their kingdom, even though they're not a running government like they used to be, but they're still very powerful. And when you're talking about power and money, and if anybody had the means to cover something like that up, it would be them, and it really makes a lot of sense because they historically have been racist, and they're really serious about keeping that bloodline pure and stuff like that. So that's a definitely a possible, theory.
And I didn't even realize how bad the racism was till this whole Meghan Markle. Someone pointed it out on social media. If you look at the royal guards that guards the palace, even though there's black royal guards, there's Asian royal guards, none of them are black or Asian or of color. They're all white. Right. And so it makes me wonder, like, is Meghan Markle gonna, as long as she keeps staying, she's like, right now she's staying with Tyler Perry. That's where they're living. So as long, they're living with Tyler Perry. I don't know how that happened, but they're living with Tyler Perry. So
can't wait for that movie. Medea's the princess.
Meghan and Medea, yeah. As long as they stay with Tyler Perry, I think they'll be safe. Because all the drag queens in the world is going to come out and make sure that she's safe. So as long as she stays on United States soil, you're fine. Yeah. You're fine.
Well, he's a billionaire, right? I think he just made billionaire status recently.
Did he? Did he? I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, it's like, come on. It's like crazy. I mean, I guess I would feel safe staying with someone I know versus like getting my own house, my own apartment. At least Tyler Perry. I guess Meghan Markle and Tyler Perry has connections from when she was in Hollywood before she moved over to, Prince. What's it? Is it Prince Williams? Prince Williams, is that his name?
Yes, because Harry's Harry, or is it Harry?
Maybe it's Harry. Maybe it's Prince William. Yeah, Prince was Well, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, so
it's Harry.
Meghan, stay on American soil. Don't someone has an English British accent, get suspicious. But yeah, man, that whole conspiracy with Princess Diana, man, I was just like.
Yeah, it's scary, man. I hope they stay safe. Like you said, it's probably better for them that they're in with a public figure and someone who, not a family member somewhere in the back.
Because
we don't want to lose her either.
Yeah, I don't trust. I mean, if I just outed out the queen and the whole royal family, man, I'm sleeping with like this the whole night. So that's exactly how I'm sleeping, man.
All right. Well, speaking about power and money, that's a good segue into my next one. And my next one is Jeffrey Epstein did not kill himself.
Jesus.
He did not kill himself. So now if you don't know who Jeffrey Epstein is, he was, I should say, a financier. I don't know if he was like one of those hedge fund guys, but he's really, really rich guy who dealt with money and finances and was friends with every politician, celebrity you can think of, from Trump to Obama. I mean, he was in the mix. And he was convicted of human trafficking. And, the stories were that he was the guy that all these, affluent people, if they had, a sick affinity for young women. I don't know if it was just women, but just young people. He was the guy that you go to. He was the guy that kept it secret. He had everybody's secrets, you name it. And when you have information on wealthy, not rich, like wealthy, powerful people, government officials, celebrities all over the world, when you have dirt on people like that, it's really dangerous. You're walking a fine line. And when he finally got caught and convicted and went to jail, it's safe to say that a lot of people were sweating and nervous about what or if he was going to say anything.
Yeah.
And
of course,
forgive me because I don't know how long he was in jail before this happened, but at some point Jeffrey Epstein killed himself in jail. He hanged himself. Now, I didn't know this because I really didn't know much about the story. I started looking into it. Apparently, the way he killed himself, I think he tied a sheet around his neck and tied it to the bars, but he leaned forward in a way, just kind of used leverage and gravity to do it. Now, one of this was in an independent, what do you call it? They do the autopsies, coroner or whatever, and they're looking at the bone in his neck. There's somewhere around here. There's some sort of bone or whatever, and it was cracked, broken in 3 different places. Now, this particular doctor, he said in all his years, like, you would never get that. He would never see that from someone just leaning forward.
Yeah.
That's something that you get when you're dropping from a high place, or elevation or whatever. And so he right away is like, I don't believe that that's how he was killed. And to me, it makes all the sense in the world that people want him gone because of what he. And then the thing is, there's so many people. I mean, I couldn't even go down a list of celebrities and politicians and people that he knew. It could have been anyone. Anyone could have like made that call to have him taken care of.
I honestly think it was, I mean, not stepping on your foot here, but I honestly think it was Trump. I think Trump made the call, because Jeffrey Epstein had dirt on the president of the United States.
He sure did.
And he had dirt at, Stormy Daniels was nothing compared to the dirt Jeffrey Epstein had on Trump. And we're talking about 16, 17, 18-year-olds, whether he was the president, and younger, whether he was the president of the United States or whether he wasn't the president yet, Jeffrey Epstein had dirt. He had dirt. And there's only one person in the world that's powerful enough to say, take him out. And to me, that's the president of the United States. So, your theory, I heard the theories about it could have been, the senator here, the senator there, the governor of this.
And in other countries too. That's the other thing too,
Yeah. Billionaires. We're talking about like, Arab countries. We're talking about those countries, Dubai and all that stuff. We're talking about, we're talking about crazy stuff. Yeah. I seriously think there's one person that said to do it, and that's, Trump. And a lot of people that are going to say, no, you're a Trump hater. That's why you're saying that. No, there's nobody powerful enough to say, hey, guard, turn around at 12 o'clock midnight, because at 11:45, I'm going to kill this guy. It's going to only take me 5 minutes,
Yeah. And crazy. I think if there was anyone, I feel like some people would maybe be a little more tactful, maybe wait a little bit, but I think you're right in that respect, where Trump is so arrogant and brazen and feels like he can do anything he wants. Yep. But again, this guy deals with a lot of people like that. So who knows? But Trump is a good one though. I think, and you look at the timing and everything that was going on in his presidency when that was happening, and right away, that was at a time when Trump haters were looking for anything on him. And this was like big, fat, juicy apple. Like, this is, we're going to grab onto this. And so I could I could see him saying, oh no, we gotta nip this in the bud. And just think the type of person Jeffrey Epstein was. Yeah. These wealthy, rich, arrogant people, like, they always feel they can get off. Yeah. At some point down the line, we'll find a loose end somewhere that we can pay off and we can get something to go our way. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense to me. Even if you look at, I forget the name of, there's another Epstein documentary on Netflix. Even some of the victims were like, nah, I don't buy it. That's not him. He wouldn't have done that, And these are people that would love to see him dead, and they're like, nah, I don't think it was his doing. So that was an interesting one to me.
I mean, to me, I think Jeffrey Epstein is a coward. He's a coward, and he hides behind, his walls. And one, he's not capable enough to kill himself. Two, he had so much leverage that he could use to be like, look, instead of 50 years, I want to cut it down to 10. And here are the names of the people that I'm going to give you. And I'm pretty sure someone was already working that route for him and saying like, all right, dude, we'll cut you down to 10 years, but you got to give us the names of this and this and this. And probably the name on that top was, the president. Yep.
I would think so. I would start with that name and work your way down.
Work your way down. And the president of the United States is like, oh shit. Here it is. The Democrats are going to use this against me, and I'm going to get kicked out. And you know what? It's funny you mentioned this, because I forget the name of the guy that works with in the Capitol. He's the Republican guy. He was the guy that was like, oh yes, we got to overthrow the president. And then when he came down to that final veto, he said, nope, we're not going to do it. I forget what his name is, but I have a feeling Jeffrey Epstein had something on him too. Oh. Because the way he was kissing Trump's ass so bad, it's like, I'm going to kiss your ass because Trump has something on me that I'm not going to, budge. Forget his name. Forgive me for forgetting his name, but it's better that I don't know his name than I do know his name. But man, that theory, man, it's just, I totally agree that he did not kill himself. There's no way.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. I mean,
there's no way.
I mean, not to make light of suicide or anything like that, but there are people who really suffer from
yes,
mental illness, and they make that decision to take themselves out of their pain. I don't mean to judge from looking on the outside. I just don't buy that he was someone going through something like that.
No.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. I don't see it.
No. I mean, that guy, again, he had more to gain by being alive than he did to lose. I mean, it's like, there's no way. And plus the way he died, the way the way you said, I think somebody came in there and choked him and broke his neck, and then try to find a way to make it look like he killed himself. And you can't hang him from the roof or the ceilings anymore, because that's not how cells are made. Exactly. So they did what you said, where they just had him leaning over. Right. And man, again, there's no way this guy killed himself. And if he did kill himself, and we're all like speculating he did it, he's a coward. He's a coward for going out that route. And
no matter how you look at it,
he's a coward. I don't respect that, man. But that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Crazy. Mine, the one I have going, it's the shirt that I'm wearing. Teaser. You guys wearing the Bruce Lee shirt? It's Bruce and Brandon Lee's death. So I'm gonna do both. So we're gonna go back to Bruce Lee. Died July 20th, 1973. Died in China after he was meeting with they called her the mistress. She was supposedly the mistress. She was a Chinese actress. Her name was Ting Pei. Met with her and a producer, and then complained of a headache. And then she gave him what they call painkillers, and with a combination of like a tranquilizer pill and something else, and then gave him some tea. And then hours later, Bruce Lee just never revived from that. The coroner said he died of brain hemorrhaging. There was like hemorrhaging in his brain. But the thing that makes me wonder about that is Bruce Lee wasn't active in fighting. So there's no way he was getting some sort of brain trauma that he did that. Yeah. And if you guys don't know the story, China or the Chinese government wanted Bruce Lee gone for the longest time because of what he did with the martial arts. The martial arts community was so into like, no, you cannot teach the Westerners our thing.
Really?
So when he moved out here in San Francisco, he decided to open up his own school, taught, non-Chinese ways to fight. China didn't like that. They brought people out here. That's why the whole story of like him and what's that Shaolin monk? I forget the name of the guy. But they did a movie about that with him, the Shaolin monk. They brought this guy out, and the story was supposed to be like, hey, Bruce, if you lose to this Shaolin monk, you cannot teach any Americans any more Kung Fu whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
Or karate. But Bruce Lee ended up beating him. And, story goes that the Chinese government was finding ways to try to kill him. And with his success with his movies, giving Chinese, Kung Fu some kind of like, open up and like, oh, like everybody wants to do Chinese martial arts now. They waited a while and found an opportunity to kill him. And they found a way by him with this girl, this lady, and supposedly she was her friend or his friend. And I think she's the one that did it. I think she's the one that's like, hey,
she poisoned him, you're saying?
She poisoned him. Yeah. She gave him tranquilizers. She gave him there was another medication, memeprobate. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And then gave him that herbal tea to calm him down. And he died, and he died at the age of 36. He was only 36 when he died. Yeah, 36 years old. It's like,
he was young.
He was young. And then segue to his son, Brandon Lee. And everybody, if you guys don't know who Brandon Lee is, Bruce Lee had two kids, Brenda and Brandon. Brandon stepped up and became the actor that his dad was, and he was doing martial arts movies as well. And he was doing a movie called The Crow. March 31st, 1993. Using a prop gun that was supposed to be filled with blanks, supposedly filled with blanks. For some reason, this one prop gun had live ammo in it and shot him in the abdomen, and then he died. So it goes back to, was the Chinese government or the Chinese, I'm not saying the government, so China, sorry, it's the martial art community that wanted the Lee family dead so bad. I mean, is that what you guys wanted to do? I mean, it's like you covered it up pretty well by fake prop gun with real bullets, and then let's let Bruce drink this tea and let him die that way.
That's crazy. I didn't know the history with him and the martial arts community not liking what he was doing. And I always had a problem with Brandon's death. Like it just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Why did you have live ammo or a real gun on set for any
any reason?
How does that, in what situation would you need that?
Exactly.
If you're not security and then still if your security, it's not a prop, you're not dealing with the actors. Like I don't understand. That never made any sense to me, and how people just seem to just accept it. Like, okay.
There's a movie out that Jason Scott Lee did. It's called I want to say it's called The Last Dragon. No, maybe it's called The Dragon. I forget the name of the title. Came out in the 90s, and it tells the story of Bruce Lee's life. And in that story, and in the biography that I read, that his wife Shannon Lee wrote, it does depict that the Chinese martial arts community did not want Bruce Lee teaching any Westerners. When they say Westerners, they're talking about United States. US, and they didn't want that. And of course, Bruce Lee comes to San Francisco, opens up his own dojo in Oakland, and then ends up creating this whole new fad of martial arts. But they didn't like that. They wanted to keep it strictly with the Chinese community. And when he decided, no, I'm gonna let everybody else do it. One, he was doing it for financial reasons. He was broke. The guy was broke. Two, he didn't mind sharing something that he knew what to do. And, with him sharing, we got someone like Chuck Norris out of it. I mean, like Chuck Norris is probably his best student. But again, did they kill him on purpose because they've been wanting to kill him? Or, I mean,
and when you think about it, I mean, Bruce Lee was a huge star.
Yes.
So you want to talk about publicity, it gets no bigger than that. The movies he did, I mean, growing up, I was a little young, but I remember the 70s being like a huge time for like martial arts and kung fu. Everyone here in the States, like my brothers, they're about your age, growing up, like everybody did karate or wanted to. My brother used to have these kung fu magazines he would get mailed home, and sometimes he would get like these mail-in ninja stars, which were actual ninja stars, by the way. I don't see how kids could order this stuff. And it really was a craze. Like Sunday mornings, they'd have these kung fu flicks, all the classic ones. So I could see them, him getting all this exposure and them not liking it, whoever it is, because it really did. It blew up in the States. Maybe they felt like they wanted their cut.
Yeah, I mean, it kills me because it's like you have one of the biggest stars. I mean, like biggest stars. He opened up the world to martial arts. It's like we here. There's kids. Trust me, kids my age. If you guys are my age, your brothers are one of them. I guarantee we all wanted to be a martial artist because of Bruce Lee. We all wanted to do martial arts because of Bruce Lee. Now, I'm not sure. Now you got different UFC fighters and all that stuff. But he was a mark to us because we're like, okay, this is probably the greatest martial artist around. He showed us, Jeet Kune Do, which is his style of kung fu. His theory of, attack before getting attacked. It's like, he changed, he revisioned martial arts for a lot of people. And I think that's the reason why the Chinese kung fu or martial arts community didn't want that. Because, kung fu was more, or karate was more self-defense. We don't use it unless we're being threatened. So if you watch any of those old martial art movies, you notice that they don't really start fighting unless someone picks on them. Like, Jackie Chan is one of those guys where it's like, no, I don't want to fight you. But if he has to, he will. Right. But it just makes me wonder, his whole death, even Brandon's death, just makes me wonder, like, was this death really an accidental death, or was this planned? And I feel bad for Brenda Lee, who can't really do anything in show business, so she's just doing all these things for her dad to memorize his dad. So, but I always wonder about that.
And yeah, that's a crazy one, honestly, because same thing. I never understood, like with Brandon's death. I honestly didn't know how Bruce passed. Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
They probably really, just like you said, they didn't agree with what he was doing.
Yeah.
They're so traditional as far as martial arts goes. It's like you said, it's always been self-defense. It's always been about self-control, and maybe they felt like he was arrogant because he was showing this different style. But I think what he did was great for martial arts. I mean, there's no denying it. You look at where we are with MMA now.
Yeah.
How it's a big machine. So, but man, that's a sad one, man, because Bruce Lee was awesome.
Yeah. The guy's name was Wong Jack Man. So I just looked up the IMDb. So Wong Jack Man was the Shaolin monk that they brought over from China to fight Bruce Lee. And supposedly this fight never did happen. It's like, you asked Bruce Lee, like, nope, it never happened. Because it was supposed, but it's one of those things that makes you wonder, like, if Bruce Lee was still around right now with MMA the way it's going, it's like, come on, man. I mean, it's like, I think this Chinese martial arts community made it worse by taking them out.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Chinese community would also say, no, it wasn't them. It was a curse that Bruce Lee did with his family. And it's more of the gods, that it becomes more spiritual. The gods didn't really agree with what Bruce Lee was doing. So the gods, found a way to kill him, and the gods found a way to kill Brendan. But I'm like, no, to me, that's more conspiracy than anything else.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a tough one, man. Rest in peace, Bruce Lee.
Rest in peace. And you know what? I was able to go to Seattle and be able to. Cool. I was able to see the both their graves and spent a little moment there to just reflect on what if, and that was the only way I was able to meet him, and I took it. Him and Brandon.
Oh man, that's definitely on the bucket list. I didn't know that was in Seattle.
Yes, they're both in Seattle.
We have a trip lined up for Seattle, so yeah, good.
I would definitely, and I'd recommend not going on a Sunday because the cemetery is closed on a Sunday. So if you guys are planning a trip, it's not that far from the Space Needle. I mean, you got to drive or take Uber, but it's not that far from the Space Needle. So everything is around that area. So I would definitely recommend seeing Brendan and Bruce Lee up there.
Yeah, we'll do. We're gonna check that one out. All right, now my last and final conspiracy theory is actually more of I guess a debunking. Maybe, I don't know. We all know about John F. Kennedy, JFK, and that the whole conspiracy around his death. This isn't so much about his death. It's more about the gentleman that they call the Umbrella Man. Right. We've any JFK conspiracy theorists know about the Umbrella Man. It's a gentleman who was caught on video, countless pictures, standing on the side of the road where the former president was assassinated. And it's a beautiful, sunny, clear day. There's footage of like the whole, motorcade, and nowhere do you see anyone wearing even a jacket, let alone an umbrella and all this stuff. And I thought to myself when I first saw it, I was like, well, it was probably just sunny. That's why he did it. But then they start explaining more, and you see how he's dressed. They have really good photos of him. He's got on coat and all this stuff, and it's like, yeah, why? What the hell? What was that guy doing there? And all these conspiracy theorists talk about how his positioning to the president would have been perfect, and all these things. But I come to find out that they actually found the Umbrella Man.
Okay.
His name is Louis Stephen Witt. The government brought him in shortly after the assassination to question him. Like, he sat down in a court with a whole bunch of people. Never knew this. Brought in the umbrella. I mean, there was people who had theories that the umbrella was some sort of like they had a gun in it,
rifle,
that he can scope and like shoot and all this stuff. Yeah. So he brings in the umbrella, and he actually said that the reason why he had the umbrella was a protest, and it was a protest for Joseph Kennedy, who I don't know, it was one of his policies or something that he was against. And so as a protest, he decided to have the black umbrella, and this was something taken from someone named Neville Chambers, I guess, who did something similar, and that was his explanation to it. And this one guy was like, it's so ridiculous that he's like, it makes sense. Like, he's like, to him, it's so ridiculous that it has to be true. He doesn't believe in the that he's part of it. I don't know. It's a little weird to me. I personally don't believe that one person was involved in JFK's assassination.
No.
Whether the umbrella guy was involved, I don't know, but I definitely don't think it was Lee Harvey Oswald alone. I don't think he had the capability of even putting something like that together.
No.
Let alone, what happened. But yeah, that's a weird one to me, because it is like, it's so ominous. You just see this guy and he's kind of off to the side where he's by himself. So it was so plain as day that the governor's like, we got to talk to this guy. What the hell was he doing there?
I mean, it's like, it's like, dude, it's like whatever. It was like 80 degrees in Texas during that day. And it's like, he should have said something like, you know what, dude, I suffer from melanoma. I wanted to see the president. I was trying to hide the sun from me. What do you think about that death? Do you think that was a government death, since we're on the topic? I have a big theory on this one. But
I don't necessarily know that the government was the one that did it, but there's government involvement. You look at the FBI, Hoover, who was a notorious racist, pretty much decimated the Black Panthers. They didn't like John F. Kennedy because of the things he was doing for the Black community and civil rights. His family was being picked off. His brother, Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. Malcolm X assassinated. All of these guys, for the most part, in different ways, had the same agenda. And I don't think it was Lee Harvey Oswald. I think he was a pawn. I think he was the face of it. He was the guy meant to be caught.
Yeah. He was the guy that was like, he's dumb enough that we could use him because he won't know what to say.
Yep.
But he wasn't the guy that pulled the trigger.
Yeah. It's similar, and people are going to kill me, and that's fine. It's similar to, I think, what Trump did.
Yeah.
Where he manipulated these people that are disenfranchised and follow him to the T because he got him with all the shit he said, even though he didn't help him.
He didn't help him.
And he manipulates them to do something like storming the Capitol. I think this guy was the same. He probably had his views against Kennedy and what he believed in, and was probably this, fanatic. And they're like, hey, this is the right guy. We're going to use him. Yeah. He's going to be the fall guy. Because when it comes to government assassins, and I don't want to get too conspiracy theory but when it comes to governments killing people, it's always for money.
Yeah,
it's always for money. And at the end game, it's always money. They could be, they could use race, they could use power. There's so many reasons, but at the end of the day, it's usually because of money.
Yeah.
And they'll do what they have to do to cover themselves up and paint the story the way they want it painted. And so, I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK.
No, it's the government. I have this weird theory that goes all the way back to high school, and it goes back to Roswell.
Oh, wow. Nice. It all ties
in. Back to Roswell. All ties in. JFK knew about what happened in Roswell. JFK knew that there was aliens here. JFK knew that, UFOs was in the United States, in the world, and he was about to out the story, the real story, when the higher government was like, no, you're not. You're not saying anything to no one. He told one person, and I think that one person he told cost her life, and that was Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe dies in 1962, accidental overdose is what they're saying. A year later, JFK dies, 1963.
Wow.
And I think he was getting ready to out the story. He was getting ready to say what's going on. This is what happened. This is what I'm going to say. And the government was like, go ahead, tell the world what you know. But first we're going to, we're going to do a little parade down this street in Texas. We're going to have you jump in a convertible, which doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. The most powerful man of the United States, and you're going to make him sit in a convertible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
and on top of that, they were going faster than they were supposed to. Like, there's a an interview or even a documentary with the secret police or the Secret Service, excuse me.
Yes.
And there's instances where you see like they kind of took off, and there's video footage of one of the guys, like he's just shaking his head like, what the fuck, like it's going too fast. They left without him, so he had to run along the side of another car. He ended up being the one that jumps on the car and covers him after it happened.
Yeah.
But they were, it was just way too many things that felt perfectly.
You heard the theory why they had to go a certain speed, because the shooter knew that if they were going, I think it was supposed to be like 5-10 miles an hour for them to be seen. The shooter knew if we're going 5 to 10 miles an hour, the bullet trajectory is not going to get there in time. So you have to go at least 15 to 20, maybe like 10 to 15 miles an hour, which that's not fast enough for walking speed for the Secret Service next to you guys to be standing there. So, I mean, there's so many theories on that death, but you're right. Lee Harvey Oswald did not do it. He wasn't capable of doing it. And plus the rifle he had probably wasn't powerful enough to reach the president where he was.
Well, even if it was, he had a bolt action rifle. There's no way he would have, anybody knows a bolt action rifle. There's like so much you got to do to, and it was 3 shots in how short of a period of time. They said he would not only have had to been an expert marksman, which he was, but he would have to be like shooting competition style, those guys that like throw a coin up and shoot a hole in the coin. He would have to been like that. And even then he would have had to have been lucky and been like on his best day, which, let's face it, if you're about to assassinate the president, I'm pretty sure you're stressed out and you're not, you're not at your best. So.
Heart rate's going up, all this stuff going up. Right. Yeah, it's difficult. But yeah, you're right. I totally agree that he did not do it. The Umbrella Man theory was really, for the longest time, like you said, I wondered that same thing. Like, did you do it? Did you just close the umbrella? And we've seen all those spy movies where an umbrella could either be a sword or a rifle. And umbrella is probably one of the safest things you can say to turn into a rifle, to me at least, Yeah. I mean,
one thing with that though is I feel like there's so much footage of him when they pass that you would have seen him do something. You would have seen a projectile. You would have seen some. So I really don't believe he had anything to do with it.
Yeah.
At least not the actual shooting. If he was, maybe someone there who had to make sure it really goes through or really happens. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe he was there to kill Lee Harvey Oswald if he doesn't do it. I don't know. Like, because let's face it, it happened afterwards. So
maybe he was a time traveler.
Yeah.
Man, but these are our theories. These are the theories that we have. And for you guys who are end up going to watch us on YouTube, who decides to give us thumbs down, some of you guys who does, these are our personal theories. These are theories that, some of them that we did get off the internet. So don't give us thumbs down for this one. Give the internet that we read this from thumbs down.
Exactly.
Rest in peace to the people that we talked about: Bruce Lee, Princess Diana, Brandon Lee, Dodi Fayed, all those guys who passed away during this. While we're talking about rest in peace to you guys. But man, conspiracy theories, man, it's just like
something to think about.
Things are being covered up just, for what reason? That's my whole thing is, what's the reason you're covering this up? Why?
Yeah.
Why? UFOs, you covering up for our safety? Don't you think I'd rather prepare to be safe than not to prepare?
I have a theory. I think whatever alien technology we have would do way too much good for human beings, and a lot of industries would maybe lose money because of it.
Yeah.
Because, maybe better energy source, cleaner energy source. I feel like, again, I hate to I get this from my dad. Dad, if you're listening, it's because of you. Everything's about money.
It is.
Anything bad in this world that happens,
it is.
Money is somewhere behind that, because someone's being greedy.
I'm gonna tell you something that someone told me. So you guys don't get mad at me, because someone told me this. Okay, we found a cure for coronavirus in a year, probably less than a year. We found not a cure. We found a vaccine. So let me rephrase that. We found a vaccine, but we're still trying to battle cancer. We're still trying to battle AIDS, and that's been going on longer. So, what is it about? It's about money.
Yeah,
because the longer
didn't shut the countries down.
Nope. Well, some communities, right. Shut down.
Right.
But without AIDS research, there's no AIDS funding. There's no, none of this. Same thing with cancer. If we found a cure for cancer, there's not going to be a cancer research. There's not going to be these hospitals that specializes in certain cancer treatments. So at the end of the day, yes, it is about money. Unfortunately, it is about money. But if we can find a vaccine in less than a year, I'm pretty sure we can,
when it's amazing when all the countries collectively put their heads together, what they can figure out when they really need to. It's amazing. That's why I wasn't worried about getting the vaccine, because I'm like, too many people had too much to lose with the world being closed this way.
Yeah.
So they made sure they got this thing out there, and they got it fast. And like you were talking about the medicine, like we've heard it so many times, there's no money in the cure. It's in the treatment. So that's the unfortunate the world we live in.
I blame the Illuminatis for doing the Illuminatis. Yep. You guys are the ones doing all that. You guys don't know about the Illuminatis. You guys read up the Illuminatis. It'll freak you out. So don't read it at night, because the next day you're gonna be like, is that someone? Yeah. Don't do that. But read about it, know about them,
secret
so that
societies.
way, so that way when you realize that, wait a minute, is this really me, or is this the Illuminatis? Illuminatis. Everything's Illuminatis.
Third eye, man. Third eye.
Triangle. Illuminatis. Man, this has been fun, man. Oh man!
Jay-Z Illuminati conspiracy theorists will love that.
Yeah, he'll love that, man. Him and Tupac and the whole Illuminati. That's why Tupac died, because he talked about the Illuminatis. Right? Yep. That's exactly why he's gone. Biggie didn't do it. The Illuminatis did. Not Biggie. I'm sorry. Suge Knight.
Yeah. See, there you go. Starting East Coast, West Coast beef again.
Yeah, there we go. This is it. All right, man. This has been fun. I totally like, man, it's when you miss a podcast and miss just going on here. I'll be honest with you. This is my tranquil time to just like, let me unwind, and what bullshit can me and Joe talk about today, and get you guys reeling in. Yeah, let's put the word conspiracy and theory next to each other and see how many fishes we can catch.
I need this, man, because my wife won't listen to me talk about this stuff. Oh my God. So.
She's
just like, don't you got a podcast with Eric to do? Like, fine.
You know what? I'll be down in the kitchen. It's the truth. I'm sitting here standing next to my dad, and I was trying to tell him this whole conspiracy thing that we're talking about. And he goes, it's a conspiracy theory that always bothers me. And I'm like, yeah. How the hell do you have a podcast? How the hell do people listen to your stuff? And how the hell do you actually get people to listen? That's a conspiracy. I'm like, no, Dad, that's not a conspiracy. That's Thanks, me. Dad. That's all me, Dad. Thanks for your support, Dad.
Yeah, shout out to you, Dad. Shout out to our dads.
I'm still trying to wait. I'm trying to wait for your dad to get on the show, man.
Oh, yeah. No,
I definitely want to ask him about the ghosts and the.
Oh yeah, he may not want to talk about that.
Well, he doesn't live there anymore. If you guys
gets freaked out. He gets freaked out. It's easily freaked out.
You guys listen to the last couple podcasts we did about the ghost stories, man. Joe's ghost story. Yeah. My kids, we were driving the car. I just happened to just play that. My younger son was like, "Oh hell no, hell no." How long do they live there? I said 20 years. He's like, "Oh hell, I would have been moved."
Tell you, man, rent control. Hey, we're living together.
Hey, we got to share it with the roaches, the ghost,
everybody.
The next door neighbor, if he wants to come over and grab a sandwich, that's totally fine.
Just make sure you pay your portion of the rent.
All right, man. This has been fun again. Ordinary Joe's podcast. We are going to put out another one next week. Sorry for the delay for this past couple weeks. Things just happened, but next week we'll be back in full force talking about whatever.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll have something
for you guys.
We always do.
Yeah.
We always do. All right, guys. Until next week, thanks for listening. Catch us on all podcast platforms. We're also available on YouTube. And until next week, we are the Ordinary Joes.
Peace.
See ya.
You're listening to the Ordinary Joes podcast